Hey, folks, Jon Miller here. That is not Marc Morehouse. That is Tyler Kluver. Some of you may recognize him, and many of you know him from Up Walkons, the very popular Iowa Hawkeye-based podcast that has been sweeping the state of Iowa and regional and outlying states, really across the country, wherever Iowans are. You know how that is, Kluver. Hey, first of all, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's exciting. We've been planning on doing something for a while. It's been going back probably over a year now. So
yeah,
we're finally here.
Yeah, Morehouse is on vacation, out fishing at his happy place where he likes to be. So I thought, you know what? It's probably time to get Kluver. I think Mark's a little irritated that he's not here for this as well because he and I have been talking about this.
I'll come back. I'll come back.
Yeah,
We
will. We'll have you back. Let me do some things first here. As always, we want to say thank you to those sponsors that make this possible. Going to share a couple of messages from them here quickly, and then we'll get into our conversation with Tyler. Why in the world he went into the world of podcasting and becoming one of the bad guys, or if that is even true, is he now looked at as a bad guy from those inside the walls of Fort Kinnick? Going to dive into a lot of stuff. I think you'll enjoy this, but first let's hear from the folks that make this all possible.
The one and only Fong's Pizza? We thought so. Fong's Pizza in Cedar Rapids now delivers. Order direct delivery or curbside pickup from Fong's Pizza by calling 320-9992. All of your Fong's favorites and a Fong's spin on the classics, from their mega pepperoni to the Iowan and street taco. Delivery, takeout, carside to go. Call 320-9992. Fong's Pizza, Newbo District, downtown Cedar Rapids.
And what goes better with pizza than everybody knows?
Iowans know a thing or two about a hard day's work. That's why we do things the right way at Barntown Brewing. Grain-to-glass beers brewed in-house. Scratch-made food, handcrafted with fresh, locally sourced ingredients. We work hard for the reward of watching our guests enjoy great food and beer. Barntown Brewing. West Des Moines, Waukee.
And also, thank you to Heartland Flagpoles and Flags for all of your flag needs. And listen, I got 3 or 4. I got my Royals flags. I got a couple of Hawkeye versions. Got them all from Heartland Flagpoles and Flags. Visit them on their website. That's heartlandflags.com. So, Tyler, I want to play one more video here as we introduce you for Legit Real. You know, the pride of Marshalltown. Interestingly enough, and I want to get into this, you know, being a lineman and a long snapper, usually at probably most schools, you know, you're kind of just, you know, who are you? But at Iowa, you know, I think Iowa football fans actually really care and have been taught to learn to appreciate these things. And so you were the long snapper. So you were known, but you were really known for the polecat, the name of this play.
From the 20. On 4th down. And the pass is caught.
Dude, every time I watch it, I hurt. I hurt so badly for you because I have to imagine all of the rest of your days, even though you were a part of one of the biggest wins in Kinnick Stadium history, and that was an unbelievable day. I can't even imagine what you guys felt like in the locker room. I will forever, as long as I live, have envy of you that you got to play for Kirk Ferentz. I wish I could have played for Kirk Ferentz. But brother, how badly does that hurt that you got so freaking pumped that you couldn't get across that goal line?
It's funny. And you're right. It's for the rest of my days. So there was probably I don't even know if it's ended, period of time where I moved back with my fiance at the time to Waukee. Shout out Barntown Brewing, by the way. Incredible. I love Barntown. And not for the beers, sorry, Mark, but for the burgers, most importantly. And I would be introduced to my wife's friends, people around the area, you know, they're friends of friends. We go to events, gatherings, and they'd be like, yeah, this is Tyler. This is Lauren's husband. He played for the Hawkeyes. He was, oh, do you remember that Do you remember when they beat Ohio State and the long snapper caught the pass? He caught the pass and he tripped. He tripped on the. That's him. That's this guy. And I'm just standing there like, hey, that's me. So
that's me.
Yeah, man. It hurt for, you know what? It hurt for a little bit, but not that long. And I can't say it hurts too much, because some people look at it as you almost scored a touchdown for the Hawkeyes.
Right.
I look at it as I caught a pass against Urban Meyer's Ohio State Buckeyes in a massive point in the game. I mean, we were not supposed to run that play at that time against that opponent, but it got called. And, I would love.
How's that feel when you get the call? Oh, snap. They're calling polecat.
Yeah. So, I've told the story a couple times. I'll run through it very quickly. It was in the playbook for Northwestern, which was 2 or 3 weeks ahead of that. It was meant to be early in the game. We're up 1 score, or maybe it's the first drive. We get into scoring position across the 50, and we feel like we have a decent grip on the game to where we can give up maybe a field goal and really go for it here, or we can give the ball back to them and make them go 70 yards. Didn't get called. We didn't get that spot. And you'd be amazed at how many calls, special teams or offensively, are meant for specific spots, and they just don't show up, and they never get to see the light of day. And so it didn't see the light of day against Northwestern. The following game, we're running it every week in practice, but it's kind of been put on the back burner now. But if you run it in practice, it's in the playbook, right? So it's got the chance to be green lighted during Saturday. So third quarter, we're up 17 points in a game where we shouldn't be. We'd be lucky to be down 17 at this point. And I run onto the field thinking we're kicking a field goal. All right, kick it. Kick it. That was my whole life at Iowa was, all right, kick the ball, Kluver, Duncan, or Miguel, or Marshall. And Keegan Render grabs me by the shoulder as we get 15, 20 yards onto the field, and he goes, Kluver, we're running polecat. And I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about it right now. And I looked at Keegan, and I said, and Keegan's not one to, he would never pull something like that. I said, are you effing serious? We're running polecat? And he just goes, yeah, we're running polecat. Because to him, he's just standing over in the gate. But for me, well, my life has the potential to change now. So we line up. And if you watch the film, Urban sprints down the sideline, getting ready to call a timeout, but no timeout ever comes. We send a guy in motion, which was kind of a dummy motion to get people's eyes looking one way. And Colton throws the ball. It's a little bit behind me. I would love for the people that gave me all the shit over the years to be in that position and look behind your shoulder and see 50,000 people and then try and find a ball in the air and stop your momentum, catch the ball, turn. It's a lot harder than it looks, but
no doubt.
I am not making excuses. I pride myself on being even though I was a long snapper, an extremely fit and athletic human being. And in that moment, it did not show through.
I can't even imagine it, but I will say this. That's a healthy attitude. Number one, there's probably in the history of planet Earth and all the billions of people that have lived and died, less than 2,000 of them have ever caught a pass for the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
Okay. Less than 2,000. So you're in a very exclusive club. And two, what it also makes me think about, every one of those snaps and holds and kicks on PATs, on field goals, and there's not many programs in college football that rely more and lean more on their field goal unit converting than Iowa's football program, with the way that Kirk plays football, the way that he designs to play football. So all those times that everybody only notices when it's a low snap or it's a bad hold or it's wide right, it's the other 95% of those times when all three of those phases go. So I do, and I think most people do, and I'm sorry to bring that up right away. I was like, I gotta play the polecat, but I would give like tens of thousands of dollars. I'd write a check to be able to go back in time and do that.
I promise you the adrenaline that moment gave me, and the glory of catching the ball. And I remember every single millisecond of it. The turf, as I slid down and reached for the goal line, the turf spitting up out of, like, from underneath my forearm into my face, looking at the goal line at how close it was, burying my face in the turf, standing up. Miguel's right there, patting me on the back.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah. People are going nuts. And then, of course, an iconic play of that season happens the next play when Stanley has Bosa on his ankle and throws a dart to Hawk in the back of the end zone. No one thinks about that. I now have to run back. I just ran 60 yards to the end of the bench. My heart's already racing at 200 beats per minute, faster than it ever has. I'm trying to breathe. Okay, we score a touchdown. I now sprint 60 yards back down to the same end zone where I just failed to score, and now I have to snap the ball. And people have absolutely no idea how hard it is to snap under a high heart rate or kick, something that is very skilled.
Yeah. It's a Zen thing.
I didn't feel I couldn't feel my body. And that snap was 5 out of 10. And I didn't care because we've scored, we're kicking ass. And I just had one of the craziest moments of my life. And yeah, it was, and I was very fortunate over my career to, other than probably 3 reps in my mind were really unacceptable snaps. And I can tell you the day, the placement, who was catching it. All the other snaps, I was pretty all right.
I can't imagine what it's like to be in the locker room after a game like that. And I can't imagine what it's like to then be done with football and be done with that brotherhood. You're always going to be a Hawkeye. You're always going to be a member of a very exclusive club. You've got all the, you're always in the family, but you're not exactly what you once were. And you don't get to have those incredible highs like a post-game locker room after whooping Ohio State's ass. So you never get that again. How hard of a transition was that for you from being inside to then being outside and not having that opportunity to feel those things anymore?
Yeah, it's a great question, John. And I'll say this, it was a lot easier for me for a couple of reasons I'll go into than a lot of guys. And, for me, I always told people that my game day was the off season. Again, and I'm sure we'll get to the Tyler Kluver fitness at some point during this, but I'm a competitor at heart. I was a linebacker at heart at Marshalltown High School. Not the pride of Marshalltown High School, by the way. That's Jeff Clement. He was an incredible baseball player.
A lot of dingers.
So many. I think he still holds the record. And so I always thought of myself as on the same level as, and I knew on game day, I couldn't do what Josie Jewell did, or Ben Neiman, or Bo Bauer, or even Kevin or Drake. I couldn't do what they did at a Division I level. But off the field, strength and conditioning, speed and agility work, just little knick-knack games that Coach Doyle and the strength staff would come up with us. I could compete, and I would often win. And there was no better feeling other than Polecat in a couple big-time games rather than the off season when I would beat Josie Jewell in a speed rep. And Doyle would give him shit for 10 minutes because the long snapper beat Josie Jewell. But I didn't beat just Josie Jewell. I was dusting everybody because I just had some knack for these drills that we were doing, and it's all I was good at, so I hung my hat on it. And I gave everything I had. But game day I was a glorified fan. I was a fan who got field tickets to every game, and I got to run out there for 6 to 10 plays a game. And, on a very rare occasion, I got in on a tackle, and that was really cool. And I felt more than prepared and completely sufficient as an athlete to go and tackle the likes of Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. That's if we could catch them. We had some struggles with a couple of those guys. But I could tackle those guys. And otherwise I just came off the field and I was watching and I was cheering with the rest of people. And I didn't cheer much because I tried to keep a very even keel. You have to as a specialist. So I was detached from the game in a sense. And so I always, when it ended, I wasn't the quarterback that was out there for 60 plays a game.
Right.
I didn't have that attachment, but being stripped of the environment of being around those guys,
Right,
I don't
right.
miss the games so much,
Right.
but oddly enough, I miss waking up at 6 a.m. in the summer, heading over to the complex, jumping in the hot tub, warming up, and lifting with 40 guys who are just trying to go absolutely balls to the wall for 2.5 hours and just trying to grind. And that's what I miss. I'll never get that again. It sucks. And I put myself through hell in my garage gym every day trying to get that same feeling without the camaraderie, but the same kind of physical torture. Right. And it's tough. It's tough. And we actually have an episode where we talk about it. And I think, it was really focused on Kevin in the episode where he talked about he went through some real depression. And a lot of people do. The identity is tied to what you've been doing, everything about your life. They say student athlete, and I know you've gone all over the NIL and all that stuff. You had J-Bo on and all, and that's on a whole new level, and that's advancing and evolving into what it is. But your whole identity is as an athlete, and the school stuff is there, right? But you're an athlete, and then you're not anymore. And you're sitting there like, okay, what do I do? This sounds bad. Life is almost too easy at that point. You come out of it and you're like, okay, what do? I get a job and I go work for the man 8 hours a day. I'm a yes man now. Hey, here's my list of tasks to do. And I just go, and there's no struggle to it. You're never going to find that struggle, that competitive environment. So, it's not easy, but I think what Drake, Kevin, and myself have all found is you have to find something to fill that competitive edge. For Kevin, it's powerlifting. For me, it's CrossFit. For Drake, it's become jujitsu. And then you have to, at some point, just be okay, knowing that one very specific part of your life has peaked, and you'll just never be there again.
And also to realize that life is nothing but a pursuit of the next peak. And there are more peaks ahead of you.
Absolutely.
And that's not it. And that's not it. And for the uninitiated, the Kevin and the Drake that Tyler is mentioning, Kevin Ward and Drake Kulik, also former Hawkeyes teammates. They were together. Again, some of you may not have found the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast. Most of you probably have. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. And you hear some really interesting anecdotes from the perspective of guys that were there, but also the perspective of guys that weren't the 4-star blue chip recruits that had to go earn their way on special teams. I loved a recent anecdote that you guys gave. You gave you didn't name the person, the potential baseball second round pitcher. And you said, would you rather just go play baseball for a 7-figure guaranteed contract, or your job, you could really be a difference maker at football? And I instantly sided with Drake and Kevin as well. And then I started thinking, man, is he talking about Brody Brecht? Because this guy's freaking throwing at 98. And he might be shooting up some charts this year.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. He's in a similar situation.
Yeah. He's in a similar situation. So Kevin has made the transition. You talk about powerlifting, but he's also, like a lot of former athletes, pouring his competitive drive into sales. He happens to be in medical sales, and and that's a familiar path for a lot of athletes. And Drake is, like you say, he's going freaking crazy with jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Good for him. So, how did Washed Up Walk-Ons start? What was the idea for it? Just the origin story.
Yep. So those three, Drake, Kevin, Tyler, we all lived together, along with the aforementioned Josie, Josie Jewell, you might have heard of him, 43. Actually not a highly recruited guy, but became a superstar. He lived a little bit different life than us. He would rather be fishing with Marc Morehouse right now too. That's all he wants to do with his life is fish. And we lived with Bo Bauer and Ike Butker. So that was the 6 of us.
West Branch, shout out.
Yep, West Branch, and Cedar Falls and Decorah. Iowa through and through. Our house was just a bunch of good old Iowa boys, and Kevin's like an honorary Iowan. And we're all in the same class. We're all similar story. Ike and Josie got scholarships, but they were by no means an Epinesa or a Wirfs or somebody like that. Ike was, he was a tight end quarterback that had to put on 60 pounds. Josie, they took a chance on him and it worked out.
Josie was a late Reese Morgan convincing the rest of the staff, we need to take this kid.
Yep. So all of us were kind of, under recruited, if you want to call it that. And we just meshed really well as a house. And so we had our time. 5 years go by. We graduate. It's the 2018 season, and we're like 3 games in, right? And it's just killing us. We're not in the black and gold anymore. We're in the thick of what you just asked about, that identity shift of our lives are different now. It's Hawkeye football season, but we aren't Hawkeye football anymore, and that hurt. That hurt. I cried. Every once in a while I still do. But that first tunnel walk of 2018, when Gervais and Parker Hesse and that class led them out of the tunnel, I was crying in the stadium, and I had this sense of, the seniors are the leaders of the team, and it's a hierarchy that is necessary in an Iowa football program that is led by experience and people who know how to do things the right way. And it was this passing off. I could almost hear like a voice in my head that said, "Go get it, Gervais. Like, Parker, it's your time. Go take it." And man, the emotions were very strong. And after the game, or maybe, middle of the week towards the next game, we're all having this conversation in our group chat text message, and it was hilarious. We're telling some story of 3 years ago in the complex and whatever, this, that, the other. And I said something like, man, the fans would love to hear something like that. Like the people who love Iowa football, that's some inside stuff that isn't some secret or isn't some, like legendary keep within the brotherhood information, but this would be really good content, right? I'm a big content guy. I love to talk. Fans of the Up Walkons, since we started the podcast all the way through now, you have plenty of people who are against Tyler Kluver opening his mouth. He talks too much and all that stuff. They want to hear Drake. But nonetheless, I like to talk. And so I was like, well, and I'd been into podcasts for a couple years at this point, listening, Pat McAfee, some other stuff. I was like, I think we could do that. Like, I'm pretty good with technology. I can figure out mics and I can edit. I was big into video editing in high school and like making class projects. And I was like, any of you want to do a podcast? We'll put one together each week, talk about the Hawk games, preview the next game. I don't know. We'll just share some stories. I had no idea. It was just like, hey, let's just get on and have a conversation. Well, Josie was playing for Denver, and Bo was also bouncing around the league still at the time, and so was Ike. So those 3 were kind of out. It left the washed up walk-ons left, really. The name had not matriculated yet, but the 3 of us were like, sure, let's do a podcast. And not but 6 days later, we had our first episode. It's still up. You can go listen to it. It's horrible, but we're talking on microphone, and now we're 220 episodes in because we struck gold in a market that no one was doing what we were doing. You and Morehouse and Kakert, I was talking about all those guys before we hit record. You guys all were reporting and are journalists and had the PC version of, you work for this company or this newspaper or this station, and you report and you have the stats and all the good stuff. And that's all really good stuff. But there wasn't anybody that had
Right.
Who wasn't who was out of bounds, who was Barstool-esque in the Iowa scene, right? Didn't have someone to answer to. We can say whatever we want. And there's no agenda. And we didn't get into it thinking that, but we quickly realized that we just, we struck a chord and it took off.
Yeah, and like you say, over 200 episodes later, here you are. Sometimes it's the three of you, sometimes it's the two of you. Lives are changing. You've kind of been the constant voice on. I think, have you missed any of those 200 and some?
There would not be an episode if I wasn't on there, because
so you're the Cal Ripken of the Washed Up Walk-Ons.
Yep. Yeah. Similar to I've always wanted to ask you or somebody who knows the stats on this.
Uh-huh.
So 220 consecutive starts on the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast.
Yeah.
53 consecutive starts for the Hawkeyes. And I'm pretty sure I hold the record for the most consecutive starts of any Hawkeye ever. But I don't know I don't know for sure. I went to a bowl game every single year I started, plus the Big Ten championship in 2015. So that's 53 games in a row. And I played with several guys that also did that, but they got hurt. Desmond would have been the one that would have tied me, but he was benched for the first quarter of a game because of an issue he had. So I'm pretty sure I hold that record, but I tell people that. It might not be true, but I tell people. It
very well may be. I mean, you may have played in more Iowa football games than any human being ever.
I hope
That's not bad. That's not bad.
I still have 1/10 the plays of the other people starting, but that's all right.
Well, right, but still, it's all valuable. It's all important. One of my biggest questions, and thinking about this, because even though I'd never had the experience of playing at Iowa, I played in high school, I was decent, but the camaraderie, that's why I joined a fraternity in college, because I missed the locker room. I missed that like-mindedness, and it's debatable whether or not you get that in a fraternity.
Jon Miller is a frat guy, huh?
I was, yeah. Wow. I was, yeah, indeed. The intramurals. I loved playing intramurals.
Yes.
Playing intramurals against all these guys from Chicago that played at 5A, St. Rita, all these Chicago guys. I played a little 1A school and then kicking their ass in intramurals. That was one of my favorite things. But that's a long time ago. But I've always wondered how you were inside. You were in the inner sanctum. And there have been some things that you guys have said on various episodes along the way that probably aren't very popular inside the walls of Fort Kinnick. I can remember Tyler Barnes coming at you for a criticism of Amir Smith-Marset.
Yep.
You were saying the same things that I was saying on Twitter timeline, probably very quickly, and everyone else. But Coach Barnes came at you.
Yep.
Several players came at you. How, A, does that make you feel? And B, how are you treated now when you go back into the facility, if you even do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, there's this unwritten rule book, right? And in a lot of areas or organizations, there's these unwritten rules. And at Iowa, or really I would guess in any solid group like that brotherhood, similar to the military. I always compare it to the military, even though that's probably disrespectful of them. But I imagine this is similar. There's stories, there's things that go on that you don't really dive into the details of for the public because they don't need to know. They don't they're not going to understand of what happened when it was happening.
They lack context.
Right. And so they're going to there's a potential for it to go the wrong way, so you just never really bring it up, right? And I don't know if this was one of those things or not, but yeah, I brashly tweeted about Amir Smith-Marset. He came in, I believe, my senior year, and just always carried the ball loose. I mean, always in his hand, right? And there's multiple people who have done it. It's not just Amir. And I really like retaining the football on offense. I really do. Always did when I was a player and still do as a fan. And I know that when people have that ball, I mean, it's just, you see it. Like if it's out here and it's not protected by your 5 points of contact that you learn in third grade.
Yep.
there's just a better chance. Now, is Amir going to get close enough for someone to poke that out? Is it going to be a fumble? Maybe not. But the chances sure go up. And I'm not scared to voice that on Twitter. I said something like, Amir's ball security he's always refused to put the ball away. And if you go back and watch the tape, you'll see it. And that's just bullshit. That's what I said. And the reason I said it's bullshit is because it's not a talent thing, because he had all the talent in the world.
Right.
It's a decision. It's an effort decision thing. If you can be better effort-wise, it just takes a little bit more effort to keep it here. And if you're not giving a full effort and it kind of leaks into being flashy, Amir's flashy. It's what he is. And it didn't hurt us too bad. He didn't lose too many fumbles, but I just tweeted it and people came after me, and Tyler Barnes and Jake Gervais and oh gosh, a couple others.
Albert Young maybe too? I can't remember.
Maybe.
I'm going to take that away. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. They came after me, and they weren't the only ones that came after me. A lot of Hawkeye Nation came after me as well. And I don't care about any of them. I care about none of their opinions, because I know that football wise, when we're talking about the game, the skill, the actual fumbles, that sort of thing, I'm 100% correct. And by the way, I got so many DMs that said, hey, I'm on your side, but I'm not going to get in on the conversation. But the outside act of me taking it to Twitter, and it's still something I kind of have an inner conversation with myself about, is I'm not sure, I'm not in the complex anymore. So if I have opinions as a former player, if they're criticisms, they're on the negative side, am I supposed to just not put those out there?
Seemed to me that was what was insinuated.
Right.
Because I guarantee you in film room, and I don't know, Coach Barnes, any football coach is going to say to Amir after that play, put the freaking ball away.
Yep. 100%. I guarantee it was said by multiple people.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
And the response on Twitter is long snapper that's retired trying to tell a guy how to run with the ball. And I'm like, okay, dude at the end of the bar who tweeted the same thing 20 seconds after I did. Right. My 8th grade football coach probably knows how to carry a football too. I know a lot of you are probably, and I had some people back me up, but it's just like, the calling out of a former teammate is like, well, I have nothing against Amir. I think he's a great kid. Hope he does incredible. Hope he makes a life for himself and makes enough money to live on forever in the league with the Vikings or wherever he goes. But as a fan and as a person who's, like you mentioned in the intro, now somebody on the dark side, I'm just calling it how I see it, and that doesn't look very good. And I had some people say, like, keep it in the locker room. Well, hey, guy, I'm not in the locker room. If I was in the locker room, I would have went straight to Amir and said, hey, tighten up your control on the ball a little bit, guy, because you're scaring me. And I'm your teammate, and I'd like to, I would have said something. I said multiple things like that to offensive players, and some fans, they would probably never be okay or think that a long snapper should ever step to a.
So it's not the position, it's about the respect that you earn, and the respect that you earned in the off seasons, like you talked about, and doing your job. So the position, the relevance, what people think the relevance of the position is not relevant. It's relevant as, do people respect you?
Yes. And I do think this. I think Tyler Barnes coming after me or saying, like, I think he said something like, no, it's bullshit, is you tweeting about it, is I respect that, because he's a guy that's still on the inside. He's in the program. Sure. He's sticking up for his guy who's still there, who's the face, right? And I 100% agree. He should stick up for his guys. But I'll tell you this, if I saw Amir today, or if I've been back to the complex several times, and I went to both the spring practices, and I saw Coach Wallace, and Coach Wallace was like, what the hell are you doing on the other side of the fence? Why aren't you on the field? Why didn't we get you on the field? And I was like, I didn't know if I was still allowed around this facility. Mm-hmm. He's like, as long as you're on my side, I'll let you in the fucking gates. And I'm like, all right. And talked to Coach Woods, talked to everybody, talked to Tyler Barnes. Nobody seemed to have an issue. I think if I went in, I could be wrong, but I think if I went in and had a conversation about it with any of those coaches, they would have been like, yeah, you're right. You just kind of looked like an asshole. We had to
Right.
chip at you for a little bit, but yeah, I'm still the reception is still great. Those bonds have been built forever, and my brother plays right now, so you know, and it's funny. A lot of the coaches actually listen to the podcast. Coach Woods texts us all the time that he's like dying hysterically at listening to one of the episodes while he works out. So that actually is crazy to me that they would actually spend time on our podcast. But yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy, you know, was on the inside, now on the outside. Now I'm part of the noise, as KF likes to say. So
yeah, well, now that that's happened, and you know that there is a fence there, and it's wired.
Yeah.
How does that impact what you're going to say the next time?
Oh, not at all. And that's the brand of the Washed Up Walk-Ons right there, is we really don't care. I have, and I think that it's funny. We just talked about J-Bo's situation downtown, got murdered for that.
You did. You spent 40 minutes telling me that you didn't care. And I'm thinking, well, if they didn't care, they wouldn't have spent 40 minutes on it.
Well, we also know that it's entertaining for the
okay,
listeners.
all right.
So
fair enough. This show business.
Yeah, no, in the end, we are an entertainment podcast. We get picked apart for some things, and all pub, like that saying, all pub is good pub. It's got a little ring to it. Like when your podcast lives on downloads and listens, and when you say something a little controversial and it brings in even more listeners than when you have a normal episode, right? You know, I don't control if people listen or if they respond or if they feel some type of way after something we say. And, you know, Drake is the king of that stuff. Kevin and I, we dabble with some controversial statements, but man, it's, if we get so many messages after instances like that are like, don't change. You guys are doing your thing. It's so nice to have someone that's not scared of the cancel culture and that isn't worried about being PC. You guys are so awesome. Like, don't change. And all I respond is, man, we're never going to change. Cause none of us, Kevin he works, you know, for an actual company, but he rarely makes the podcast anyway. Drake does jujitsu and has his own, his own setup in life where he's kind of taken care of. And I have another job and plenty of other income sources. And, you know, if I was put on the street today, I'm pretty positive I can go make money and provide for myself. So, man, if someone were to take the podcast away from me, I would miss it because I just enjoy doing it. Yeah. But the financial incentive or any of that, I could care less.
That's one of the reasons why I've kind of gravitated towards. This sounds weird, but gravitated towards you a little bit the last few years is that what you just said, I said to my wife yesterday. Now I have other sources of income. Things are all fine, but we were talking about
Bitcoin, right?
In Bitcoin and crypto and things like that. And I said, you know what? I said, I've always been able to generate income. I will always be able to generate income. So I don't really care. My risk aspects are high. So you basically said right there the same thing I just said to my wife yesterday. So that's probably why I like you, because you kind of remind me of a younger version of me in some ways.
And it's a powerful position.
It is. It creates fearlessness. Because I know also what the other side of that coin is. I know what it's like to be 6 figures multiple in debt and wondering, oh my gosh, how am I going to get out of it? Well, how am I going to get out of it? I'm going to tie my shoes up. I'm going to go to freaking work.
Yep.
And you get out of it. So, KF, Kirk Ferentz. I love it when you guys do the KF voice imitations. It cracks me up. Yep. Kirk is someone that I just have a great deal of respect for. The only thing in my whatever you call this career that I've had in whatever this all is, I'm not a journalist, by the way. The only I'm just a commenter. You know that I don't play by their rules.
Third party.
Yeah, the only regret I have, really the only one, was in 2014 when I had just moved to Oklahoma, and
I've heard you talk about this.
I felt that I still really wanted to be relevant in the scene. And I turned off all filter, and I turned up my Audacity lever to 11, which I should never do that because it's not genuine. Then no one should. Yeah. And I was really critical of Kirk in that season. And
the 2014 season.
The 2014 season.
So
yep.
the 7-6.
Yeah,
Hawk Slayer.
Yep, losing to Nebraska at the end, and I started out my instant reaction podcast with the Doors. This is the end.
Wow.
I was a douchebag.
Did you feel? I'm curious, and I'm sorry, I'm hijacking your podcast.
Go ahead.
Did you feel like you were losing relevance at the time?
I think it was in my head. I built the whole thing living in Kansas City, so I don't know why I felt like that. But I just felt like I still wanted to be relevant. And Miller's moving away, so he's done. He's out of the scene.
You needed a little pop.
So I'll show them, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe I went a little Kulik, and that's not me. And I regret every bit of it because Kirk Ferentz has never shown me anything but respect. Mm-hmm. He's assisted me and aided me in ways during my entire career, and he deserved better. And I was watching Zach Johnson win I think it was the 2015 Open, the British Open.
It was.
And I was watching his acceptance speech. And I just had this not like life flashing before me because it wasn't that dire, but I just had like a bunch of replays of so many things and interactions and things that Kirk has said to me, times when I was the MC of multiple Iowa Club events throughout the years, and Kirk was there, and we'd be hanging out back in the green room, just talking as human beings, and the notes that he would write to me out of nowhere through the years. I still have every one of them. The fact that he remembered my name in 2000 when I had gone up to shake his hand and the Hawkeye Nation didn't exist, and Jon Miller was just somebody that I told Kirk, hey, Kirk Ferentz, I'm Jon Miller. I'm going to start a website and I hope to cover you. He's like, hey, I hope to see you. And then next year he sees me a year later and he remembers my freaking name.
He's got superpowers in that sense, and I'll tell you all about those. It's
a multi-million-dollar skill, by the way. Remembering someone's name and saying it back to them whenever they would never think you would is a multi-million-dollar skill.
Yep.
So I saw the magnanimity of Zach Johnson, and I was convicted. I was crushed. I'm like, well, how did you just do that? And I wrote him a note, and I apologized profusely. And I'm like, you know what? I don't ever expect to be on the Christmas card list again. Not that I got a Christmas card, but
that'd be something.
So I get it. But I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the way I was. And I sent a note to Brian and Chris at the time because Coach Doyle had really done a number of things for me. My first daughter was born in 2002. The week that they were up 2 days, just getting ready to go kick Minnesota's ass for the Big Ten championship. Those guys sent me one of them called me, one of them sent me an email. Hey, hope things are going to go great with your kid. And then I go and do something like that. So I regret that greatly. And so, and Kirk had wrote me a note back after I sent that to him, and that was nice. And then to come find out what he and his family was going through in 2014 only made me feel worse. So how do you feel now? That was a long-winded way of getting to this. How do you feel now offering opinions in that, wondering in the back of your mind if Kirk Ferentz thinks any differently of you? Because I can only imagine the type of mental figure, role model, whatever you want to call it, he is to you, much less so than me, and how it impacted me when I kind of went off the reservation.
Yeah.
How does that work in your head? Because I got to imagine Kirk Ferentz is kind of a big deal to you.
He's a big deal. He's a big deal. And there's a lot there. And respectfully or rightfully so, because Kirk deserves all of that. He's magic. I mean, I think he's actually cracked some weird code where like I'm not very religious, but the supernatural powers of the earth, they have been given to him because he is here's a story. I could say personal anecdotes all day, but I was his player. We did a podcast with Colin Fisher, and Colin was I think it was episode like 137 or around there. And Colin was a manager around my time. We spent 3 years together. The managers are extremely important to the program. But if you're talking, standing in the program of 150 people, players, staff, managers, front desk girl, they're down towards the end. And Colin told a story of how he walked in the building his first day. He had never met Kirk Ferentz. Never met him. He walked in the building his first day, and who, of course, does he run into first but Kirk Ferentz? And Kirk goes, Colin, nice to meet you. We're glad to have you. And Colin was stunned. He knew his name and they had never met. And he was a manager that had not yet started managing. And that blew me away. But it didn't really, because I saw it so many different times. He would walk up to guys in the lifts and just, he'd come up and be like, to some random player, senior, first year, been on campus, hey, how's your aunt doing? I was thinking about her the other. It's like, and he would call them by name, not just his players by name, but all of their family members by name. It's in the name thing. He has some gift, but further than that, the heart that he has and the actual caring inside of him as a human is incredibly deep and just on another level. He is an incredible human being. Chris Doyle is too. And unfortunately, he was, with the last year of that situation, you can't tell me any different because I saw it for 5 years, and no one's perfect. But both of those two guys are incredible people. Not only that, but they're incredible coaches. And because of that, my parents, Todd and Shelley Kluver, and then probably Kirk Ferentz, Chris Doyle in my life, right? Mm-hmm. It's an incredible question. I don't think Coach listens to the podcast, although I have gotten a birdie flew in and told me that he's listened to a couple of the more popular ones, which to be honest, the initial reaction, and we've said it probably multiple times on the podcast, it scares the shit out of me. I mean, it absolutely, I'm sure,
I get it.
But I know that he respects me as a player and as a person. And I know that I gave him everything I could as a player. I probably didn't give him everything as I could have as a student, but that's all right. And I know that he knows that we get it. And I know that he knows who we are as personalities. And he knows that me and Drake both were we were a little bit out there, maybe a little bit obnoxious at times, maybe a little bit said some stuff when we shouldn't have, overstepped some lines. You can go to the Ohio State post-game interview with Kirk, and they ask about Polecat, and they say, hey, were you more worried about the catch or the throw on that play? And he said, I was pretty confident Kluver could catch it. I was a little bit more worried about the throw. And then he went on to say something like, when Kluver came into the program, everybody hated the guy. And I'll remember that forever because it was true. I was a mouthy little 18, 19-year-old who thought I knew what was going on, and I was a long snapper, and I didn't have to earn the starting spot that I was basically given. And so I had not gained a lot of respect, but over time, I know I did gain that respect from him. I know he is the kind of guy who he lets you be who you are, and he knows that a podcaster, that probably doesn't surprise him for Drake and me. Maybe Kevin a little bit, but again, it's really Drake and me that are most of the podcast. And I know that one, he doesn't probably give a lot of thought or time to it because he's got a lot of shit going on in his life. Right, but when he does think about it, he probably spins it in his head to, oh, that's great. They're using their time and they're talking about Hawkeye football. And if he really does sit down and listen to it, I think anyone who sat down and listened to the 220 episodes, they would say, we are in favor of Iowa football. We're trying to spread the brand and remember all the good positive things about it and talk about all the good positive things about it. And any critical opinions, he's in the game of football. He's all about criticism because criticism makes you better. And he's used to that. And so I think that's probably how he looks at it. And it's fun. It's fun.
Well, it sounds like you guys are having fun. And honestly, I've always felt like as long as I'm having fun, then I'm not really as concerned with how it's received, because if I'm having fun, there's a decent chance that the listeners are going to have fun. And that's really been the focus, is not to try to be what people want you to be, but be what makes you have fun.
Absolutely.
And to that, where does this go? I had sent you I can't remember, it might have been a year ago. Sent you, you and I have been chatting through DMs probably ever since about the time I retired for the first time back in December of 2019. And I was curious. I'm like, well, you're getting some of these guys on and some of these guys that are still on the team, but in 4 or 5 years, you're not going to know anybody there anymore.
Yep. We're there, by the way. Yeah.
So there you are. What's the future of washed up walk-ons? Drake's, who knows, he might make a run at the Olympics someday, or go somewhere to some Asian country and just live in a world of jiu-jitsu and disappear from the face of the planet. I could see that.
That's not, you're not overstating that. That's 100% at any point. If he did that, it would not surprise me.
Like Bloodsport and Van Damme, he just goes and disappears and never to be come back.
Yep.
What do you see? Is this something that you want to do for a number of years? Is this a phase? Is it to be determined?
It's something that when I was in college trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I've always felt inside of me that, I'm not an artist. I'm not musically gifted. I'm not, in a traditional sense, but I always felt like I was a creator. And I think that's partially what you kind of feel that when you talked about in the beginning as well. I way back in 6th grade when YouTube came out, 2005, 2006 was like when YouTube came out, and me and my best friend, who was actually a frat guy at Iowa State, intramural star, used to text me his stats after each game. He'd score like 10 touchdowns and have like 14 picks in a intramural football game. And he was in my wedding. Me and him used to like make home videos and create like the first remnants of what now people are like. They're YouTubers as a profession. They're vloggers or whatever you want to call them.
That YouTube channel probably still exists, doesn't it? Your YouTube channel?
It does. I'm not telling you.
What is this? What is it? This is you and me talking.
No. Wow. And some of those videos are, I don't even know if some of them they probably got struck down because of some.
Yeah, I'm really good one, by the way. I'm just writing myself.
Oh, you'll never find it. You'll never find it. Our names aren't attached to it, but
I know somebody's mom.
Okay, well, we were creators, and we were always just, we wanted to do more than just be just a normal guy, like just a normal person. We wanted to make stuff. We wanted to do stuff like that, and then. In high school, it became, I think I kind of got that outlet similar through making stuff, but then my brother and I would go into, and this is kind of how it's leaked into fitness as well. I'm able to create my own workouts. I'm able to write up my own workout strategy and kind of my own program. I've always just been someone who likes to put something together. And then I got into college and I started listening to McAfee, and I saw him go from the sports realm. I mean, he literally retired to go into media because, and he is a guy who's just pure entertainment. He just starts talking and people like to listen to him. And I've realized that I'm not so much that guy, but I still enjoy doing it. And now, we started the podcast. I've been asked, what does the walk-ons turn into? What happens when you get further away from it? And I think the answer is yes. We're now to the point where we have not played. Is this the last year? I think we're to the point where no one is still in the program, or maybe there's one freshman class that's still in the program. And I never knew. We were with him for 4 months and you don't really talk to them that much in 4 months, especially during the season. So we don't have those one-to-one connections of, hey, remember when we did this, and the guys are still playing and you can bring them on and fans are still they still care about it because they're currently on the field. But we have hundreds of teammates that we can always bring on, and always, and there's hundreds of Hawkeyes that we didn't play with, who some of our most popular episodes are Chad Greenway, Drew Tate,
Right.
Oh,
dude,
some of those.
The Tate episode, I was like, I did not want it to end because Drew's my all-time favorite.
Yeah, he's just a character, and we never played.
You can't get more real than Drew Tate,
right? And we never even played with him, and so we can have those conversations of stuff that, even though we were a decade apart, we bonded over because we played for the same coaches, played in the same program, walked the same sidewalks. So I truly feel that as long as I keep asking, I'll go back to Chuck Long. I'll bring on people from the 80s. I don't care. I'll bring on anybody who played in the black and gold. And I think if I wanted to, I don't care if Drake leaves, Kevin leaves, I can run these Hawkeye interviews for the rest of time with how many people have played in the black and gold. Is that going to be as popular as what we're doing now? Maybe, maybe not. But the idea of broadcasting, having the microphone here, throwing on the headset, man, it is something that I kind of enjoy. It scratches the itch of me liking to hear myself talk. I resonate heavily with. I told you that my introduction to you was your origin story podcast when you left in 2019, and then the Miller and Dace finale, and the Miller and Howe finale. And you talked several times in there about how it was self-deprecating, kind of like we are on the podcast with the Up Walkons title. It was like, well, this is the 10-part goodbye series just because I'm egocentric and I like to hear at heart, and I like to hear myself talk and all this stuff. And I connect with that. I fully admit that I for some reason love hearing my own opinions. And if it can be about Hawkeye football, and if it can be about Hawkeye football, where I actually have some sort of validity, then other people actually tune into that. I'm going to be hosting actually a 2-hour post-game radio show this fall with I think his name's Doug Williams. We've talked like twice from Cedar Rapids. And we're going to be doing a 2-hour show post-game that breaks down the games. And that's something new for me. And I'm not shying away from those opportunities. The morning rush here in Des Moines, I go on and I'm kind of like a every once in a while contributor to their show when something Hawkeye comes up. I really like being on the radio. I told my wife, I was like, if the hours weren't like 5 to or like 4 to 8 in the morning, I think I'd love that job. Right. Like, and
you're a morning guy.
I am a morning guy, but
I wasn't. And I did a morning show for 18 months that was from 6 to 8. And the first thing I thought every day when I woke up at 3:45 was, I can't wait to take a nap. And I was a bad husband and a bad father. Yeah.
And that's good self-realization, right? Like, and you have to be up that early because you got to prep for the show. You got to get into the studio. Like, so I love this, right? I love the mic. And I know for a fact, and it's almost happened several times, Drake has almost just up and left the show. And as I told you before we hit record, we talked about several things. One of them was Drake, self-admittedly, is a big reason why people tune in. And so is Kevin. And if it was just Tyler Kluver on a mic, I'm telling you, the listens, they wouldn't be as plentiful as they are right now. But I think that I'd like to pursue something that is successful with a partner, with this, that, the other, regardless of if the walk-ons works out or not. So as of now, we're going to keep doing the walk-ons. And for maybe 4 more years, as my brother continues through the program, I do still have a connection there. I know some of the guys. I've been around some of the guys. I hang out every once in a while with some of his friends who are still on the team. And I'm still going to have that for 3-4 more years. After that, I have no idea. But I think that the microphone and the headset is going to stay around somehow, some way. And I will find a way, or hopefully somebody else finds me. And, maybe the walk-ons dies and somebody out there's like, well, Kluver's not doing the walk-ons anymore. Maybe you'd like to do this radio show with me. And I'm open to all opportunities. I'm not gonna close down those doors because I really enjoy doing it.
Well, like KF, I keep note cards as well. And I have a little file of them. I got a little Kluver note card down there. Just little few things I've jotted down because you never can tell. I've got a couple more Oprah-ish questions
Love it.
to end this with. But first off, I had this back here. I had my washed up Walkons hat.
There we go.
I have this head-size freaking bottle for water. Why do I have that? Well, I recently signed up to take the I don't know what you call it, the Tyler Kluver Insane 30-Day Fast Challenge. And I'm not starting on June 1st because my wife and I are going somewhere. She's like, no, you can't do this. You can't start this till we get back, because I know you, John, whenever you do something like this, you're going to go insane. It's like the addict that you are. I was either an alcoholic, which I was for 18 years, or I haven't drank for 15. That's how I'm wired. I'm all or nothing.
All in or all out.
That's it. So, and you say, I got to drink one of these a day. I guarantee you I've never done that. I'm going to try. But so why don't you, people that are familiar with you, have heard you talk about this, but I'm 50 years old.
Yep.
I weighed in the other day at 227. I hadn't had a scale for 3 months, and I like being around 215. I'm like, whoa. Let's get back, because I'm 6'4", and 215 is about good, but it's more than just weight.
You're 6'4"?
Yeah, I'm 6'4".
Oh, you're okay. You're something
6'4", 227.
That's something to handle now.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
literally. Not really.
I wouldn't have guessed 6'4".
Yeah. Well, it's the seat. It's just like this. I kind of look like Tiny Tim when the microphone's there.
And I probably look bigger because I'm bulkier, but I'm actually.
I appreciate you wearing sleeves today.
Well, and I know you. And for those that listen to both podcasts, you've heard Drake complain for 5 straight episodes on the Walk-Ons about me not wearing sleeves, and then last night, when you text me to do this podcast, which I was wearing a sleeveless shirt. Well, then me and my wife, we went out to we went to the store, and she goes, "Are you wearing that to the store?" And I said, "That was my plan." And she goes, "Will you put on a shirt?" And I said, "Okay," because you just give into your, everyone who's married, how the deal works.
Sure,
so now I had this shirt out, and I only wore it to the store for 20 minutes. So you aren't graced by the biceps in this podcast, but yeah, man, the water bottle. I can tell everybody. I think you were getting there. I cut you off.
Well, yeah, just go on to what you're doing, how you help people, how you can help a 50-year-old who wants to. Yeah. I'm not looking. I'm not looking to go do max. I'm not looking to rep out at 205 like I did 7 years ago, and just in my general workouts. I got to take it easy because I hurt my shoulder. I was doing over the head shoulder presses. I hurt my shoulder. I don't want to go back there because I don't want to have to go through rehab. I want to build some muscle. Yep. I want to have a long life, and I want to be healthy. So obviously I'm 50, but you can help people of all ages and all sizes. What are you doing?
Absolutely. So here's the sell on it. And if you're listening to this podcast, you missed the boat. June challenge is full and we're rolling, but there will be more challenges in the future. I took a liking to fitness and health in 12th grade. Didn't know what I was going to do in college. And I found CrossFit. It was on YouTube. Back in 2012 when I was a senior. CrossFit, what it is today, it was still kind of grassroots back then. It only started in like 2005. So I saw these people competing at lifting weights, and it wasn't just your bodybuilding show. It wasn't just bench, squat, deadlift like a power lift meet. It was all these crazy things like gymnastics and walking on their hands and stuff that was nuts. And I thought, wow, I want to do that. I like that because I loved lifting. My dad started me lifting when I was in 5th grade. So I've always been a weight room junkie. Right. And unfortunately, I was going into college where, my workouts were going to be pretty well set. And I wasn't going to really want to do any extra stuff because, we were going through the ringer of a D1 strength conditioning program.
Yes.
However, it steered my education in a way that nothing had grabbed me like that before. So I decided, freshman year, I'm going to be an exercise science major. I'm going to go and own a gym someday. I'm going to run my own gym or whatever. I'm going to be a personal trainer. At that time, I didn't really know. And then as college went on, and I kind of graduated and I got a gym. I got a job working at a CrossFit gym. I realized, okay, owning my own gym, that's going to take a while. I'm going to have to work my way up to, even part like a half-time working schedule here, coaching these classes. And then at some point, I'm going to have to try and buy in on half of a gym and be part owner, head coach, this, that, the other. not only that, but I realized that owning a gym was going to completely mess with the hours that eventually I'm going to start a family with my wife, and I'm going to want to see my kids go to school and what they do in the afternoons. And people work out in the mornings and in the evenings because they have to work as well. So I realized that owning the gym probably wasn't going to be it. Got into a coaching job at a gym not a mile from my house here, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And about 5 months in, I got laid off. And this was 2 weeks before COVID hit last year in 2020. This was February 20th, basically, of 2020. And so I say that I got laid off because of COVID, but it was really because the gym wasn't doing great. And I was the youngest on the staff. So they're like, hey, we got to slice you. And so then I took 2 weeks and then COVID hit. And so like, okay, well now I can't get a job anywhere. Like, what am I doing with fitness now? And that entrepreneur grind, that bug, that gene or whatever inside of me, that creator, it kicked in. And I had a night laying in bed of 3 hours of straight. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I do my best thinking for some reason at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I had this 30-day challenge completely materialize in my brain, front to back, in about 2.5 or 3 hours one night. And it's basically this. And this is the gist of it, right? You know, you said you're 50, you want to be in shape. You're not trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you need to be healthy to live longer and look a little better and stuff like that. And I know how to.
What are you saying? I don't look good?
I'm saying that you don't look better. I'm saying you don't look like Arnold.
Oh, you're right.
Without some external help, you're probably never going to look like Arnold.
No, nope.
And no one really wants to look like Arnold, but
not right now.
People do want to look healthy and they want to be healthy. And most importantly, you want to keep yourself away from disease and you want to keep yourself away from dysfunctionality, right? Those are the two biggest things. The statistics in America are actually insane on this stuff. The amount of people who are overweight, obese, who can't do a squat, who hurt getting up out of bed in the morning. And I realized this, that, you know, I come from a competitive athlete background. That's what I like to do personally. But I think my knowledge and the way that I can communicate this stuff is best suited for those who are out of the game. They're 30 to 60 years old and they just kind of lost a step, you know, for 10, 20 years. Essentially my dad, right? Like, used to be an athlete. A lot of people that I help, they have that athletic background, but it's like, oh, I haven't done anything in 8 years. And they got a little bit heavier. They haven't touched a weight in this long. And when you're in that position, getting back into the groove of things feels like a huge mountain to climb.
Right.
And I know that it isn't. I know that if you can separate things down into very detailed step-by-step processes that go slow, introduce one new variable at a time, you can actually get back to being in a decent little exercise and nutrition routine that doesn't take a whole lot, right? And so that's part of what this Fast Fit Challenge is. It also is a play on the fact that I use intermittent fasting as a personal diet protocol. And it takes you through that. And if anybody is interested in that, it's basically you just don't eat for 16 hours. And it sounds a lot crazier than you think because half of those hours you're sleeping anyway. You basically skip breakfast and then you eat between noon and 8 p.m., right?
Right.
And there's some benefits to that and a reason why that works, but it's more so just a challenge to be like, hey, this isn't that hard. Let's follow a couple rules. Okay, here's some food. A large part of it is, hey, here's how many calories you should be eating, and here's how we track. And here's how we track those calories because it's also not that hard. But you just have to kind of have the spark to do it. Someone has to show you the page to go, and then you can read the page, right? And it took off, man. It was, we got 70 challengers, 60 challengers of the three we did last year. We did another one in February. We've got 40 plus in this June challenge. And so I'm running these community challenges and I've had insane results. People are losing 12 pounds on average for those that complete and are kind of militant, like you said, follow all the rules from day 1 to day 30. The average weight loss is 12 pounds. That's between males and females. And for
and we're not talking about people that are having to go spend 3 hours a day in a gym. I think you're talking about biting this in. Hey, let's focus on the 30-day nutrition and 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. Here's your caloric intake model, and those are the kind of and that's with little to no exercise, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had multiple people run the challenge, and at the beginning, they're, similar to you. They're like, "Hey, man, I'm injured. I can't work out," and I would love to have a conversation with anyone who's injured and thinks they can't work out, because I'm sure I could write you some stuff up. But if you don't want to mess with the exercise, cool. Just do this. And this is what I tell everybody. I want you to drink a gallon of water a day, or I know, or a better sort of metric on that is drink a ounce of water per kilogram of body weight. If you really want to get nitty gritty, I want you to just
metric system. What the hell are you doing?
I know.
It's America.
I know. So, about whatever. And go on a walk 30 minutes a day. I just want you to have a little bit of physical activity. And then mix in this nutrition side of things, the way that I break that down, the caloric not restrictions. Not only that, is the caloric side of things is, hey, we're just going to give you a number. Stay under this number. I in the program give foods that you should eat, foods that'll fill you up and give you the most bang for your buck nutritionally. But at no point do I say you cannot have cake, you cannot have pizza, because that's no way to live your life. And the biggest thing for these people, anyone, is they want to find something that is sustainable for the rest of their life, because that's what keto, paleo, low carb, Atkins, whatever, all these people do these diets and they see great results, but then they stop doing it. Yeah, they stop doing them because they're like, I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. And so my focus as now a online coach of nutrition and exercise is to create sustainable solutions for the average Joe who just, they're not some crazy health nut. They don't have crazy health or fitness or exercise goals. They just want to live a little bit longer and help prevent a little disease as they get into their old age. And and you're not old.
That scale that I bought that takes into account BMI, it takes into account of like 11 different things. I sent you the screenshot. Yeah. It also had like what your I have an actual age of 50, but then what my body age is. Oh, okay. And it said 53. I'm like, whoa. I've always been like a couple of years younger than what it says. So I've looked at your materials. I opened up the I signed up. I paid the money, and just $100. That's like nothing to regain control of the trajectory of bad health decisions like I'm wanting to do. And I looked at just the food part and the fasting, and you lay it out in a PDF. You tell me, here's some foods that you can eat that will help you get full, feel full, but also not be like the same as eating 6 slices of pizza, which probably isn't going to get to you to your caloric goals. So for me personally, my wife says, hey, can you go to the store? Sure, I can. I said, can you fix things around the house or do things around it? Sure, I can. Make me a list. Make me a list. I do well with lists. You have provided step by step by step instructions. Even though you can't be with me over my shoulder physically, you have laid everything out for me. So all I'm doing is following a very clear and easy to read roadmap. And I'm really excited for that because I respond well to that, because I feel like, and I'm not intending to do any lifting this first 30 days. I am going to walk it's finally stopped raining in Kansas City. And my wife and I'll go out and walk about 2 or 3 miles every 4 days or every other day or so. And, but I'm just going to focus on the health because I want to get that 227 pounds down to 217 pounds, or so in a month. Yeah. Guaranteed. And if I do that, then I'm motivated to take the next step because I want to get to 205 ultimately. And so I think as much as anything with me, and I think a lot of people, of course, I would think a lot of people think like me because it's a narcissistic way to think, is that you set goals for yourself that you can attain. And then once you attain that goal, then the next one's going to be easier to attain because you've already attained one. So I'm really looking forward to it and I'm excited. And this is not a paid endorsement by any stretch. I'm just really excited for it because I needed somebody to show me a roadmap.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can go online and find calorie counters. You can go online and find an app here. You can go online and read about what foods give you. But you know what? That's a lot of work. And one thing we all don't have any more of is time. Tyler's basically packaged it all up in one really easy to see thing. And
well,
you know,
yeah, you're great. You're great. I mean, you're a better salesman than me, clearly. And I struggle to talk. I struggle to talk about myself and really promote myself. I think it's something I'm trying to get better at because it's part of the job. I just want the sustainability thing is really the key factor there. And you're right. Like this isn't, I'm not selling you the 30-day get rich quick, you're not gonna, I do put the picture of my transformation in there.
Oh, you share your abs as much as you possibly can. I've noticed.
Absolutely. Sex sells and all that. And like, I look good and I look better than most of the people that are going to buy this challenge are ever going to look. But nonetheless, when you take it to the extreme and you extrapolate this out from 30 days into 365 days,
right,
the results are compounding. I know you're a big investment guy. It's compounding interest, and that's all it is. And I just want people to understand how easy it is to think of it this way. You're investing $1 or $5 right now. And that thing it's not hard to invest $5. That is the equivalent to the effort and kind of attention you have to give this first 30 days. It's not going to take you to the end, but it could be that first step, that first stepping stone to the rest of your, and I've had, what's really crazy is I've had several people who have been militant about it. They've been in a lot worse situations than you. They've taken the challenge. They've lost. I have 3 guys that are just like this. They were over 300 pounds. They lost 15 to 27 pounds during the first 30 days. And then after that, they continued with it. And I stay in contact with them. And they literally, they contact me every month or two and they go, Tyler, you changed my life.
Because they're motivated. You motivated them.
And I think combined they're up over 250 pounds between the 3 of these guys that they've lost. And it's insane. So if I can change one person's outlook, put one person on the right path, then I feel like it's all worth it. And then really what happens is, some of them get crazy about it. Some of them turn their life around. And then maybe we discuss one-on-one coaching where we actually go into specific, custom workout programming for you, one-on-one meetings like this, face-to-face over Zoom each week. I had 3 client calls before we got on this podcast where I'm diving deeper into person-specific stuff. The challenge is obviously a little bit more general, but yeah, it's something that I'm on that entrepreneur grind now, and I'm trying to build up Tyler Kluver Fitness.
Yeah, that's how I want to. I mean, I'm fixing to probably not this month, the next month, buy a dumbbell set. I don't know, probably get up to 75 pounders and work my way down. Because I was, just 7 years ago, which doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're 50 versus 43, it's different. I was sitting there pressing 70s and workouts and it's great. But now I don't know if I can. But anyhow, I need the plan. I'm looking forward to that. So I am glad that you shared that, and I think a lot of people can be helped by it. So last couple of things.
Yeah.
Lowest moment as a member of the Iowa football team. What was your lowest moment?
As a member of the Iowa football team?
As a member of the football team.
It was, I'll never forget. We talk about it all the time on the podcast. The locker room scene of the Big Ten championship was desolate. I mean, it was like, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, it's like in season 6 or so, spoiler alert, when the dragon rolls through over the wall of some spot and just torches the entire army. I mean, it was like quiet. No one knew what to say. People wouldn't take their usually people are getting ready for the shower, even if you lose, right? Like a normal regular season game. Okay, screw it. We'll get on the bus. We'll figure this out. No, there is no figure it out at that point.
Right.
We just lost the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Unless you're Wisconsin or Ohio State in the current format, in the current past decade, who knows when you're getting back here, right? You maybe get one shot in your career. And it hurt. It hurt bad. tears, there was no words. How I'm struggling to find words now is how it felt then. And it was bad. I mean, for some reason, we got like these cold meat sandwiches that were just like something you would feed to third graders on a field trip after the game. It was the worst post-game meal we ever got. It was insult to injury. There was we went back to the hotel, which we could have just walked back. It was like 5 minutes across the road. And I remember walking up to I was on the 22nd floor. I'll remember it. And there were some jokes made that are not PC at all. We're like, well, should we just jump out of the window here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this it right here? Like, because I don't know if it's ever going to get as good as it was when Tavon caught that touchdown pass.
Right.
Like, what's the point now? Like, it was a dark moment, a moment that fueled the next 2 years in my career for a lot of us that were still on that team for the next 2 years. It was, hey, that's that feeling. We want to get back there and fix that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. But it was a rough hour or so in that locker room.
And on the flip side, we don't want to end with the darkness. Let's end with the light. What was your all-time best moment as a Hawkeye? I mean, again, you just talked about a locker room. That wasn't a game. So you don't have to focus on a game. It could be a play, it could be anything. What was the thing that stands out and shines more to you than anything else?
Ooh, that's a great question. There's a lot of answers to that. I think on a really short, simple answer, it was the first time that I saw my name on the back of the jersey. My dad played for the Hawks in 86 and 87. He went to the back-to-back Holiday Bowls and, third string center, fourth string center, never saw the field. Scout team guy. And growing up, it was always, I looked at my dad as a hero. I didn't care that he didn't play any reps. I didn't know that he didn't play any reps. I didn't care. It was always just my dad played for the Hawkeyes. And that was, and the Hawk, they still are, they're heroes. They're the big man on campus. They are who everybody wants to be. And 2013, my freshman year, I think it was probably media day. And it's the first time you throw on that jersey and you go out and take the pictures. And I don't think freshmen aren't even allowed to do the interviews yet, but you still throw on the jersey because you're taking pictures on the inside for ESPN. And it's the first time I saw Kluver on the back of the uniform, and I was just like, snap a picture to my mom, and I probably teared up a little bit. I almost want to tear up now. It's like, wow, a lot of hard work to get here, and it's finally like, this is nuts. The other moments that stick out to me are that Brett Greenwood swarm, just coupled with that turning into a night game and the finish that I got to be a part of, 57-yard game winner. That is a crazy moment. That and the Michigan moment, which is crazy that you think about three of the bigger finishes to games or bigger games. Pitt wasn't a big game, but crazy finish. Michigan, obviously, we just knocked them out of the college football playoff. And Ohio State, no one was supposed to do that to them ever in the next 3,000 years. And somehow I have a role in all three of those games. That is more than just, I mean, I look back sometimes and my story just seems like a fairy tale, and I'm really lucky. And those are the moments when the field gets engulfed by Hawkeye fans, where you're just standing there and you're just like, this is what they make movies about. I mean, this is stuff that you just don't get to experience. And I, for me, it was like every year we had another moment. It was like, I think we had that Pitt game was that in 15? I think it was. And then we have another one of those moments in the Big Ten. Yep. And then the Big Ten championship, where Tavon scores that touchdown. You can't hear anything. And all the scores happen, and I'm like the one running out to snap the ball. So like I'm in the middle of it. I'm looking around, and it's like And then 16 happens in the Michigan game, and then 17 happens. Like I look back, and my career as a long snapper is just insane. And those are the moments that you remember. But yeah, those are the good times. And if you want more good times, listen to the Up Walkons. You like that little segue?
I do. It's fantastic. Yes.
Now that's kind of why we started the podcast, man. That was really talking about stuff like this, and then just kind of walking through those moments that fans don't get to see.
Right.
Yeah, those are the good times.
I sent out a note. I've got a private text group. It's not private. Anybody can sign up for it. And those of you watching this see the number on the bottom of the screen right now. It's just text sign up or add me to 515-474-7216. I sent a note out before this, and I was going to interview you tonight and any questions. And there was, I don't know, probably 40 or 50 submissions.
Sheesh.
And I was going to start doing some of these, but I'm thinking, you know what, this is for the Washed Up Walk-Ons. And I'll probably copy and paste a bunch of these, email them over to you. You can do what you want with it.
Okay.
But this I think would be better for you guys to
sure. That's
kind of your territory. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of interest. I mean, there's 350 people that get these text messages, and 20% of them just send a note over, or almost,
sure.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I've wanted to do this for a long time. I think it was after a basketball game or a football game last fall when I was just going on with the new platform. I was trying to get you in. I always thought it was kind of cool. I could tell that you were in the chats, and I'm like, we're all fans of this. We all enjoy it. We all want to talk about it with each other. And that's what makes it so much fun. And I enjoy listening to your guys' podcast. I'm excited to see, where you take things and where it goes. But regardless, thanks for your time. We'll do this again in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And the Washed Up Walk-Ons, for those that are listening and are fans, we will have a Jon Miller episode. We're going to.
I don't know how that's going to go.
We're going to bring Jon on because I know that you've got questions from the side of the reporter.
I do. And I didn't go into those today.
Yeah.
I have a lot, but I felt like I don't want to take content that I think is yours, and I want that to be on your podcast.
We're going to have that. So everybody out there listening, probably, now that we've done this, we'll let it simmer a little bit. People can enjoy this for a little while, and then we'll bring Jon on here sometime in the middle or late summer and have some good content over there. And, you'll get to talk
a little bit.
Yeah, you'll get to talk to Drake and Kevin as well. And I know Kevin's a big fan. Drake doesn't know any of the media because he just doesn't follow anybody. But you and Drake having a conversation, it's got to be entertaining and good content. So
Drake and I had a little Twitter. We kind of, I don't want to say this because he's jiu-jitsu. We butted heads a little bit at one point in time last year.
Well, him and everyone.
Respectfully, I didn't just drop a hole or this, that, and the other. I was just like, dude, this seems anyway. But that was about the time he decided to unplug, which I think was a really mature decision, by the way. Yeah. So yeah, I look forward to it.
I appreciate you having me on. This is fun. If people cared enough, I would literally do this 5 days a week. Like I said, I do this as a radio show, like the Miller and Kluver radio show.
Hey, dude, hang on. Let me get my KF card out here.
Write it down as a note.
Hey, you never can tell. You said one thing earlier.
Okay.
You said, I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. Doesn't everybody? A.
Yeah.
B, what a waste of time.
I know, 50.
Right? I do this, whatever this is. I've done this more than I've ever done anything else consistently. I've got an energy company. I trade in cryptocurrencies. And honestly, I'm still looking for what I want to do when I grow up. So don't ever stop it. You just never know. Don't ever quit because it changes. Passions change. So you never.
And I thoroughly enjoy when people ask, "What do you do?" I don't have an answer really.
Yeah. What do you do? A little of this, little of that. Importer, exporter. All that sort of stuff. All right. Take care.
Yep. See you, man.